Hello everybody. Unfortunately, it's this time of year again in the Midwest here where we got to winterize our boats. So I'm going to be going through a step-by-step procedure on how to do that on a Mastercraft NXT 20. It's a 2018 model. It's got the MV8 Ilmor motor, or the MP5000 I believe they call it. And we're going to go through a step-by-step procedure here. And some of the things we're going to need is 5 quarts of oil. They recommend platinum full synthetic Pennzoil. The trans is going to use 4.6 quarts of Shell Rotella 1540. We are going to need some antifreeze. I'm using the Splash RV antifreeze, -75. It says the motor holds, I believe, 3.5 gallons, but I'll probably end up flushing about 6 gallons through there. And the other 3 gallons are going to be used for the ballast tanks. We need some sort of transfer pump, although some people say that you can let it drain. I don't usually take that kind of time, and I just have a transfer pump here to suck the oil out. We need some other small tools like a 9/16 and a 7/16 wrench. I use 6-point because it's a brass fitting and I want to get as much bite on it as I can. This flexible spout is how I'm going to pour the antifreeze into the ballast tanks. And we got an oil filter, trans filter, and don't forget to put your preferred stable or seafoam in your fuel prior to running the motor and changing the oil. So the steps that we're going to take is, first thing we're going to do is disconnect the ballast bags from the boat and get a little more room in there. And we're going to warm the motor up, change the oil, change the trans fluid, and then we're going to run the glycol through the motor. And we're going to try to go through a step-by-step as best as we can here. I only have one hand on the camera and one hand working, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so here we go. We're going to remove the ballast bags from the back of the boat as part of the winterization process. It's also gonna, I like to do this first because it's gonna give me some more room when I'm working around the motor, pulling the drain plugs and stuff. So what we're gonna need is the factory supplied ballast removal delete plugs, which there they are right there. We are going to take these off, slide that back like that, and just push that out. Okay, this is the one that is underneath the seat. We have the vent one right here, which is where we're going to be pouring the antifreeze through, and another fill back here, just like that. Now this one right here is going to get connected to the one under the seat. Now the ballast tanks are removed, and we're going to go on to the oil change next. Alright guys, we're going to start warming the motor up to change the oil here in the motor and transmission. I'm using a Fake-A-Lake to warm the motor. This is a Flush Buddy, which fits over, it's tight, but it fits over the intake on the bottom of the boat. I like to make sure that my hose is on the front side of the boat so that it blows water directly into the pickup on the bottom of the boat. And if you don't know which one is your water pickup, it's the one that I have the Flush Buddy kind of on. I got to adjust it. It's the biggest white one on the bottom of the boat for the Mastercraft NXT 20. Alright, so we're running the boat to bring it up to temperature so we can do the oil change. The temperature we're looking at is between 140 160. We're at about 118 right now. We have water coming out of the exhaust. Another way to make sure that we're getting water going through the motor is to look over here at your sea filter. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can see the water going through there. And we're gonna go ahead and bring this up to temperature and go ahead and go through the steps of changing the oil. All right guys, so we're gonna start changing the oil here. And what we're gonna wanna do is get the oil drain plug, get the oil drain hose out of the back of the boat drain plug. So if you're looking at your motor, it's usually stored, I don't know if you can see it, right down here. I'll come in the side. Right there. We're going to take this hose and run it all the way out of the back of the boat so we don't have to drain the oil in the boat. All right, I'm going to go ahead and maneuver that out of the back hole here. Okay, so here we are in the back of the boat. We have the oil drain tube coming out of the water drain on the back of the boat. I have my oil transfer pump hooked up to it, and a 5/8 diameter hose fits right over the end of that, which also fits into a 1/2 inch by 5/8 hose to turn on my transfer pump. All right, so my wife's videotaping now. It makes it a little bit easier. I'm gonna try and do this without getting oil all over. So I've already loosened it. I got some rags underneath there. Hopefully there's not too much in here. I'm gonna come all the way off and flip it up as fast as I can. Okay, I don't know why the camera stopped, but it did. So we're going to take note of where it's at. We're going to try to go about 3/4 turn. And we're looking at, started there. That's pretty darn close, about 3/4 of a turn. Make sure, give it a little bit extra. Okay, that's tight. Now we can remove the rags I have underneath here. And nothing actually dripped out, so that's good. Now we're going to add the oil. It takes 5 quarts. And Mastercraft recommends Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic, 5 weight 30. Mastercraft recommends changing their oil every 50 hours or at the end of every season, whichever comes first. You want to definitely make sure that you change your oil at the end of the season because you don't want any of the pollutants that are trapped in the oil to be sitting all winter. I just hit over 50 hours on this. Unfortunately, that's all I got on the boat this year was 50 hours. If anybody's running anything other than the Ilmore filter, leave a comment down below for everybody to see what we can use here. I haven't really done any research on that yet, but here we go. So we're going to turn the blower on. Make sure there's no fumes down here. Double check for rags. Looks like I got everything, and here we go, firing it up. Actually, not firing it up because I didn't turn the hose on underneath the boat. That is a very important thing. Don't forget to do that or you won't have any cooling. So stand by here for just a second. I'm going to go turn the hose on real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back now. We got the hose going. I double checked it to make sure that the fake lake is still on the water pickup. I'm always constantly checking that to make sure that we don't lose any cooling. Here we go. And again, like I said before, an easy way to make sure you're getting cooling is to look right here. And you can see the water flowing in through the sea strainer. Right there. That way I'm sure I'm getting water going through the motor. If anybody's doing anything different for their oil change, leave a comment below. Maybe you got a better way. Maybe you like this way better. I don't know. Some guys let the oil just drain out of the back. I've tried that. It's not been successful for me. That's why I bought a transfer pump to make the process go a little faster. So there's lots of different pumps you can buy online. Harbor Freight has some pumps that you can make work or set up to work. But this is the easiest way that I've found to be able to do this. So leave a comment below. See what our temperature's at. We're at 117 now, coming up. Double checking the water's still flowing. You gotta watch out with these fake lakes that they don't slip off. I like to take this time to look things over as well. Make sure that we don't have anything rubbing or any wear on anything. Excessive vibrations. And everything's looking pretty good. Okay, so we brought the engine up to temperature. We went up to about 165, and then thermostat opened, started cooling back down to about 150, and I shut it off here. Let's go ahead and check the oil level. Which, don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it is on the full mark. Okay, I'll wipe that off. Make sure there's no lint on there. Shove it back down. Okay, so that's it for the oil change. We're not leaking any oil around the filter, and everything else is looking pretty good. So now we are going to go to the transmission. Give this a little turn now that it's heated up as well, just to make sure that it's still seated tight. Nope, didn't get anything on it, so she's still good. And now we are going to look at the transmission and get ready to start changing that. We are changing the oil and filter in a ZF63-4. This is the common transmission on the NXT20, and we are going to go through this. This is part of the winterization process, because they recommend changing your oil in here every 300 hours or once a year annually, whichever comes first. And so I have made this to do it. If you guys are using something else, let me know. This is a piece of 1/4-inch PEX to a 3/8 compression fitting to a barb for the 1/2-inch hose that I have hooked up to my transfer pump that is outside of the boat. My son is out there. He's going to be flipping the switch for me. So first things first, I want to check the fluid that's in here, make sure that we are full, that we don't have any issues. And I don't know if you can see it right there, but it was full before this. So we are going to suck this oil out of here. Let's dry this off, put this where we're not going to get oil anywhere. Not yet. And we're going to put this on here. Okay. And here we go. All right, Jason, can you please turn on the pump? Okay, we're gonna go to hit the bottom here, and you can see here it comes. Okay, now make sure when you stick this in here, it's going to hit something and stop, and then if you move it a little bit forward more, you can get it to go down about another inch. All right, and here's the oil coming out of the boat. There we go. We are sucking it all out to the transfer pump. This transmission holds 4.6 quarts of Rotella 1540. Just double checking them on the bottom there. Just gonna let that keep sucking out. Alright, so we're going to shut that off and we're going to go to the trans filter right now. We're going to leave this in here because I'm going to try to suck out a little bit more after I pop this trans filter out. So the trans filter is underneath here. It is a 6mm Allen screw wrench. This trans filter, I've been told, can be cleaned and reused. This one only has 50 hours on it, so I might look into doing that next year. I don't know. Let me know if anybody is cleaning and reusing it and what you're using to do that. But I have been told you can do that. I did buy another one that I am going to swap out with this one. Alright, let's take a look in here. Always doing visual inspections. We got a little bit of oil in there. I'll suck that out and take a look at what we got in the new filter box. Here we go. So we pulled these seals off of here, and the new filter comes with new seals. That ring in there is not one of your seals. Okay, so don't try to pry that out. All right, here we go. So we're going to reinstall the transmission filter. The easiest way I've found to do this is to oil your seals, place them on. You have this one here and this one. Make sure you don't have any paint flecks, little bits of paint that came off of the transmission stuck in here. And any lint getting off. So we're going to put this like that and just kind of hold it there. Then we're going to take the top cap and we're going to start to screw this in. Now that seal moves right now, it's okay. You're going to just get that started, come around, push the cap down to push the seal out like that. Hold it, finger tighten this to hold that seal. Oh, look at that fleck. To hold the seal in place all the way around. And now we're going to take this, we got some oil on here, we are going to seat that in there. Look through there, make sure that's all good. Okay. And again, watch these. This paint just keeps flipping off here. Okay, now as a unit like this, I'm going to stick this right in here. Give a little pressure and start to tighten this. Keeping a downward pressure on there while we are tightening it. Okay. That is in, and that is how it looks. Now we can add our oil over here on this side. Remember, it's 4.6 quarts of 1540 Rotella tea. I'm going to use this right here. I'll fill this up. I'll measure my 4.6 quarts in here, and I'm going to use this to dump it in so I don't make a big mess. And pretty much that's it for this part. So we're going to come back and work on warming the motor back up all the way and running the antifreeze through the block. So stand by. Let's see if we can show some of the things we're going to take off. Now everything is marked in yellow that needs to be drained. You can see it. There's a yellow drain plug there. And we're going to take this hose off right here, drain the manifold. We want to get as much water out of here as possible. And down there, that's where the water comes in the bottom of the boat. We're going to be taking that hose off and sticking it in a bucket of antifreeze to suck it in. And there's the water pump. You never have to change your impeller. I'll be putting a video up on that if you guys want. But I will not be changing that until the spring. I do change it annually, but there's no reason to let it sit in there right now bent. Alright, so I keep going over the same things over and over, probably because it's actually a pretty easy process, but it is timely. But if you're having trouble getting up to temperature, like right now I'm at 135 because the hose water is so cold. So I want Mastercraft again recommends that you can bring the motor up to around 2,000 RPM in idle, which I don't go that high, but just whatever it takes. So to put your boat in neutral, to rev it, push the button in, lift this up. Now we're in neutral. And we can rev the motor up without spinning the prop. I know, basic stuff, right? And again, we're looking for over 160 because we want to make sure we're getting that thermostat opened up. Alright, so I am dumping the antifreeze into a bucket here, and the motor's still running, warming up. Don't forget, I have already added seafoam and stable in the gas so that that's mixed well in the injectors and everything for the winter. I'm going to dump 5 gallons and get an extra one ready to dump in while it's sucking out. So while the motor's warming up, I'm doing this, getting ready. I'm also going to take the sea strainer off, make sure that's clean. Make sure we're not sucking in any pieces of metal here. Try not to splash. Okay, now one of the things that I like to do here is I'm going to take a bucket and put it under the exhaust so that I can catch the runoff of the antifreeze coming through the motor. And I'm going to save that and put it back in one of the gallon containers just to see at what freezing point and stuff it slushes and whatnot. Alright, so once we get all this sludge out of here, I'm going to put these back in. I'm going to take the intake from the bottom of the boat and I'm going to stick it in the bucket. We're going to suck antifreeze into the motor. Now, I live in the Midwest. I keep my boat in a heated garage, but I do this, one, for the corrosion resistance of the antifreeze, and two, just in case my heater breaks or something, just a reassurance that I'm not going to crack my block. So, all right, I'm going to come down here, put these back in. Now, can you hand me a rag there? I also take this rag and kind of wipe these threads down here, because everything that was in that plug is also sitting on these threads more than likely. So I just kind of thread a rag in there real quick. Look at that. See that? That was in the threads. Okay, now I leave the antifreeze in my block. I don't drain it. Some people run antifreeze through it and then drain it again. I guess that would depend on where you live, if that was the best route for you. If I was going to be leaving this outside in really cold weather, I would strongly think about doing that. Sure not to over tighten these. They are only brass. And when I start my boat up in the spring, I double check all this, go over everything again. Okay. All right, so we got the exhaust risers drained, we got the two block plugs out, and we got the plug out for the trans cooler. Now we're going to come under here and take the hose off the bottom of the boat. We're going to just take this hose and we're going to stick it right in the bottom of this bucket, just like that. Can you put a hand on there, please, honey? Okay. And as it starts going, I'm going to keep adding it. Once this bucket's dry, I'm going to shut the motor off. Here we go. And that's it. Now, let's see if it worked. Since I wasn't on the back of the boat, we're going to go back there and see if I caught some of this antifreeze here. Here we go. Climb out. Oh, I see some red. And looks like we got some in the bucket. So that's good. Now I'm going to keep that all winter and just keep an eye on it, you know what I mean, because that's the mixture of what's in the block. So if you're keeping it in a real cold place, you can kind of see where you're at as far as if that starts freezing and if you need to start worrying and thinking about getting your boat in a garage somewhere. So that's it for putting the antifreeze in the boat. I'm going to take this hose, I'm going to hook it back up to the bottom. All right, time to fill the ballast tanks with antifreeze. And this is the setup that I use to do this. This is just a cheap little pour spout that screws onto the top of this. I think I picked it up at Menards. It's like a couple bucks. And here is the vent hole that I'm going to fill. This is the front hole on this side, because if you use the back one, kind of has a loop in it. This one looks like it goes directly down to the tank. And if you come over here, again, I'm going to use the front ballast vent, and I believe this is a ballast vent, and I believe that is the bilge. And up here, I believe this is the bilge, and these two are ballast vents. I'm going to fill this one. I didn't crawl under there to see, but what I'm going to do is after I fill this, I'm going to just turn the ballast pumps on real quick to make sure that it circulates in the pump. And we're going to go over here, back over to this side, and start pumping this in here, more or less squeezing it in. See if I can do this with one hand. Shove that right in there and squeeze. All right, so we got all the ballast tanks filled up, and we're going to just hit a quick empty on it. Actually, first we're going to hit fill, and then I'm going to tap empty and see if I can just put just a little bit out. I don't want to drain it, but just a little bit. Here we go. Okay, now I know it went through the pump. I'm going to do the rear. All right, shut it off. Okay, and now I know I got that antifreeze through the whole system. Remember, I put it in through this one, came out through that one. Same on the other side, and same on the front. Put it in where the tape was, and it came out this guy right here. So there is antifreeze in the tanks and in the pumps. And that's it. Now it's just time to clean up. Gonna give the boat a real nice wash down and wax before I put it away for the winter. And hopefully spring will be here real soon. Pretty much that's it. Leave a comment down below, guys. Let me know if you guys guys and women, if you guys do anything different. Let me know if you liked something I did or didn't like, or maybe have a better way of doing it. You know, let me know, because that's why we're here. We're all here to learn and find easier ways and better ways to do things. So again, that was the winterization that I do on my 2018 Mastercraft NXT 20.